The gaming world today is filled with hyperrealism, shooters, and zombies galore. That's why when a game like Gravity Rush comes around, I take notice. And today I'm going to lay down the reasons why you should play Gravity Rush. The story for Gravity Rush 1 is pretty simple. Kat wakes up with no memory, she has amnesia. She slowly finds out that she has the ability to control gravity, meets Sid, meets Raven, Villain, and then Villain wants, I don't know. Anyways, she learns how to use her powers, she gains the city's trust and becomes the hero of the city. And then that brings us to Gravity Rush 2, a game that starts off in a completely different world from the first. Kat's back to square one, she's on some floating town that took her in, and we don't know how she got there. From there they end up in a different city, those cities end up connecting, she gets back to her old place from the first game, and there's a new super powered person that's watching over the city. Everybody kind of just forgot about Kat, and then you fight that thing, and you won, bing bang boom. Game's over. Yeah, every game is pretty similar, just fight a foe, save the day, become the city's hero. If you want to know what happens in between the two stories, there's a little anime that you can watch on YouTube, and it shows you the whole story of how it got there, even though it's still kind of hard to understand. Something about a portal, and then they end up in the new city. Yeah, that's what happens. But the story's good, trust me. You just gotta kind of play it for yourself. It's not a super long game, but the story's very dense. One thing y'all should know about this game is that the final boss in Gravity Rush 2 is a smidge disturbing, at least from what I remember. Oh look, I'm actually at the final boss right now.
You what?
Everyone take the rest of the day off. I'm just gonna...
The characters. Kat is your average, everyday, adorkable hero who loves adventure, food, and fighting. Wife. Raven is a tsundere and has the same powers as Kat. And Sid is that cop character that's in movies, he's kind of dumb, but he's somehow a detective and stuff. Yeah, that's who Sid is. Sid's cool though. He's the only one of the trio that doesn't have powers. The look. The game is set in a futuristic steampunk setting. It's pretty cool, I like it a lot, and most things look old yet futuristic, hence steampunk.
Steamberg! There's gears and goggles and goggles and gears and goggles, 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 and gears.
Whatever. The graphics in these games are actually pretty stellar. I played the first Gravity Rush on my PS Vita, and I played Gravity Rush 2 on the only console, the PS4. Everything looks great and you can interact with the environments perfectly. It also has this very superhero comic book mixed in with manga look to it. It's really cool looking. They use comic book borders and little text things. On the Vita version you can actually interact with it, moving it around with your finger. Both games use this new pseudo cel shaded graphic style. It's not the way that cel shading was before.
I'll show you.
It's kind of this almost, I want to call it oil painting looking thing. I love it. It's actually one of my favorite styles now. You could see it in games like Breath of the Wild and probably some other game, I just can't think of it. Gameplay. The game has you fighting different types of characters, anywhere from small mini henchmen type things to big bosses. The fighting mostly consists of kicks, so ground kicks, aerial kicks, just kicks galore. She doesn't punch, but I'm not complaining. During combat, she can use her gravity powers to levitate objects and fling them at the enemy. And you could also use it to do other stuff, like mess with the people in town. Kat's attacks in gravity shift mode are very very acrobatic. She can do flips, she does all these weird types of things. It's very cool. In order to perform these attacks, the controllers, both in the Vita and the PS4 version, use motion controls. Or you could use the C-stick, but why would you do that? You got motion controls. One interesting tidbit on the PS4 is that for the gravity gauge and other things, you'll actually hear the sound effects come from the controller rather than the television screen that you're playing, or computer, whatever you do. I don't know. When shifting your gravity, you're able to move in any direction you feel, allowing you to move in weird ways. You literally shift your gravity, so you're able to walk underneath things, on the side of things, on the corners if you so feel.
I'm too nearby to find gravity. Kiss me goodbye. I'm defying gravity. They'll never bring me down.
Something I find interesting about this game is that the gravity that she's shifting is not just herself, it's actually the area around her. So if you're trying to shift around near people, they'll end up shifting with you. And the game doesn't really say what happens to them, but these people are falling off the edges of like these floating cities. What happens to them? Help! Help! In Gravity Rush 2, they add a different element to the shifting in different weights. So you can become lighter and your attacks will become faster, but not as powerful. You can become heavier, your attacks will deal twice the amount of damage, but they also take longer to land. So if you're dealing with an enemy that can move fast, it's probably better to use a quicker attack, or just normal. Normal for me was my go-to. I barely ever used the other ones, but they are there if you want to, and they add an extra element to your customization, and that brings us to customization. This game has a lot of cool costumes and stuff. Gravity Rush 1 only had like 2 costumes, what you were wearing and then the schoolgirl, and then you could have bought DLC, but that cost money, and I ain't got that. So I didn't get the other 2 costumes that people seem to really like. But the costumes for the most part are really cool. What I'm probably showing you here, I don't have every costume, but the costumes that I do have, you can get them pretty easily. It doesn't take that much to get these amount of costumes. Also, there's free DLC for that one that looks like some type of DDR outfit. I don't know what it is. And then there's the one from Nier Automata. You get 2 for some reason, one with and without a blindfold. You know, just be careful with this, because if you're playing it and then your parents walk in and they see you shifting around, and it might be hard to explain. But I think the main and my favorite power is Cat's ability to fly.
That wasn't flying, that was falling with style.
Well, maybe it's not flying. I guess you could call it gravity shifting. It's more like falling. Yeah, that's true. There's something peaceful about falling. It's something that I don't think any of us ever want to think about, but whenever I think about flying, one of the things I always think about is flying up high and then like just gradually falling down back to earth. Being surrounded by clouds and just the sound of the air rushing to you is peaceful. And this game somehow is able to capture that. It's very interesting and one of the main selling points for me, at least. That's why I picked up the game, and now I'm like super obsessed.
Everybody do that, don't fall down.
Gravity Rush is one of those games that is a light in the darkness for me. Games back when I was playing games on the PS2 were very inventive because the technology wasn't there. And now I think because there is so much technology, people kind of just forget about design. And having these games where you walk down the aisle at GameStop or Target or Walmart and just see so many grays and greens, it's just not interesting. And having a game like Gravity Rush where you actually see different stuff, you can go to that gray dull place, but the main place that you want to be all the time is that sunny, vibrant, colorful area in the game. And I think that's something that they really improved on when they made Gravity Rush 2. being able to go through more places that weren't just this green-skied kind of blah. But even then, having the ability to play a game on your Vita like that, so open, so big, was pretty amazing. And I still go back to it whenever I'm playing on my Vita. It honestly is one of my favorite games of all time, and that's why I think you should try to play Gravity Rush.